Hey guys, Ryan here from Overland. So today we're going to run you through the install of a System 3 dual draw setup for the Grenadier. So first step's going to be to install our floor plates. You'll find a video of that installation on YouTube. We'll link that in the description below. Once you've got the floor plate in, you're going to go ahead and you're going to leave the centers fixings in, and you're going to remove the two outer fixings on each plate. So there's going to be 6 of those you're going to remove. The reason we're removing those is because we're going to need to bolt the drawers down through the floor plate into the tracks underneath, and those are the holes that we need to bolt those through. Right, but before we install the drawers, something else that we're going to do is we've got some angle brackets that we need to fit to the floor plate. It's easier to do this before the drawers go in, so we're going to go ahead and bolt these 2 angle brackets on, and that's for the infill panels on the side of the drawers. So you'll see how we get to that as the install progresses. Right guys, so next step now is to install these 2 little brackets. Like I mentioned earlier, these are for the infill panels to fix to. So we'll do these before the drawers go in. These are handed. The spacing on these holes are different, so they will only install one way. So we'll go ahead and fit those now. Right, next step will now be to put the drawer in. Once we've put the drawer in, we'll remove the back panel and we'll bolt down the 2 rearmost fixings, and then we'll open up the drawer to remove the internal section, which is going to allow us to get access to the fixings we need to bolt on the infill panel. Right, so before we install the drawer or put the drawer in the vehicle, we're just going to remove this back panel. We're going to do that outside the vehicle. It just makes life a little bit easier. So you're going to want to line this edge of the drawer up with the joint between the 2 floor plates. That should get you in a pretty good position. Then we'll go to the back and we'll bolt down the rear 2 fixings, and then when we pull this out, the drawer's not going to tip forward. So what we're doing now, like I said, just make sure the drawer is in line with the joint between the 2 floor plates. We're going to close the drawer as far as we can. That's to ensure that the 2 slides are running parallel. If they're not running parallel, the slides can bind up. So if you find you're having issues opening and closing the drawer and it's binding up, it might be that when you've fixed the drawers down, that you haven't made sure that they're straight. So what we'll do is we'll do the 2 rearmost fixings first, get those tightened up. We're then going to open the drawer to the center and tighten the next 2 fixings, and then basically we'll tighten the fixings as we're opening the drawer, and that'll make sure the slides remain parallel while we do that. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and remove this drawer. There's a fixing on the slides at the front and the rear. So it'll be a 10mm nut that needs to be removed on each corner. So we'll remove those and we'll remove that off the slides. So we'll go ahead and fit these 2 front screws now. Right, so we've got our first drawer body in. We're going to go ahead and put the drawer body on the other side. You'll see I haven't put the drawer itself back in yet. We're going to need access to the fixings on the slides to do the infill panels. So we'll get the next body in, and then we'll go ahead and do the side panels and the decks, and then we'll get the drawers back in. So we'll do the same as what we did with the last one. We'll get the two rearmost fixings in. We'll then open the drawer a bit more, do the two center fixings, and then we'll remove the drawer body. All right guys, so we've got both drawer bodies in now. Next step we're gonna do is put the infill panels on, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the decks on. In order to put in the left-hand side infill panel, we're going to need access. We're going to need to get to this fixing here. So that'll be a 10mm socket that you'll need to get in there. We'll remove that. We'll then put in a longer dome head from this side and bolt the infill panel to that. Right, so we'll go ahead and fit the infill panel. That's going to go. We've got a fixing that'll line up with the hole in our bracket down there, and then that hole lines up with the hole in the body of the screw that you just removed. We'll go ahead and do the same on the other side.
I'm in my zone. Henny, Patron, yeah, I'm sipping alone. Yeah, yeah, I'm in my zone. Henny, Patron, yeah, I'm sipping alone. Yeah, I'm in my zone.
Right guys, so we've got our drawers back in. So what we're going to do now is just check that they open and close nice and smoothly, which ensures that we've got these the drawers installed parallel and that there's no binding on the slides. We are then going to have to take them out again in order to install the deck, but once the deck's on, you'll really struggle to adjust the drawers if you need to. So it's really important we make sure the drawers are sliding in and out okay now before we go ahead and put the deck on. All right. All right, so we're happy that they're sliding in and out. Don't worry too much about this. There'll be a little bit of adjustment to do on the front, so I'll just show you something. So on this one, you can see the top edge of the drawer is not flush with the top edge of the drawer body. We will be able to adjust that when we do the final fitment of these. So we're going to go ahead and remove those now, get our decks in, and then we'll get the drawers back in for the last time. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and install the deck now. Just before we do, we're going to fit this bracket on the left-hand side deck. This enables us to clip in this infill piece which allows you then to have access to your factory jack without having to remove the whole deck. You'll just remove this section, you get into where the factory jack is. When you go ahead and tighten these up, recommend just pushing out as far back as you can. If you need to adjust it in the vehicle, you can then do that. We've removed the drawers now, back out for the last time. Just before we put the deck in, we're going to put the back panels of the drawers back on, because we won't be able to get access to that when the decks are on. Right, so next step is to get the decks in. Right, in order to get to the two rearmost ones, you're probably going to get someone to help you, preferably with a long arm. So one person will go in from underneath, get the nut on, and hold a ratchet or a spanner on it, and another person from the top will tighten it up. So I'm just going to get one of the guys to come give me a hand. Go ahead, put our infill piece in. All right, next step will now be to get the draw bodies back in, and we'll do the final adjustments just to make sure everything's lined up right. Right, so before we tighten the fixings holding the slide in fully, if you look at the end here, you want to ensure there's just about a credit card size gap between the end of this metal slider and the grey draw front. So about the thickness for a credit card. The reason we do that is when it closes, for this to spring back up, there just needs to be enough space for it to move. If you've got the draw slider hard up against there, the chances are this might bind on its way up. So if you're having that issue when you're closing your drawers and this handle isn't coming all the way back up to the top, the chances are that gap's a little bit too small, so that's what you adjust in order to rectify that issue. One thing with the drawers, don't be scared to put a bit of force into them or really use them. The slides will loosen up with use, so that's just something to bear in mind. So initially they might feel quite firm, but they will loosen up a little bit, and if you need to close it, don't be scared to give it a bit of a slam. Right, final step is get the rubber mats in. So with a bit of time, the rubber mat will settle down, so that will go flat. So it's obviously been in a box. Now, something you'll notice is you've got all these flaps in here. And that's so that you can utilize your L-track cutouts without having to remove the mat. So we've made the mat, it's just a throw-in affair, but it does have good purchase on the powder coated finish underneath. If you need to clean it, just pull the mat out, jet wash it off, or do whatever if it's gotten really dirty. Now if you need to tie things down, what you can do is simply pop up one of the flaps. You'll see you've got the L-track cut out below. You'll just use your L-track fitting, and now you've got a lashing down point. So anytime you do need to put any cargo back here that you need to tie down, you've got those. Otherwise, just remove that, push the flap back down. That's going to prevent any dirt or anything like that falling down into the drawers. Yeah, so now you've got a nice flat storage space. You've got your 2 drawers for your gear, and you're off to go.